Today's episode is brought to you by Audible. So as you know right now, I'm listening to Shook One by Charlemagne the God, and it's actually a pretty good book. I definitely recommend for you all to give it a try. Audible is offering my listeners a free audiobook with the 30-day trial membership. Just use your free offer to download Shook One or any of the thousands of titles available on Audible right now and let me know what you think, okay? Just go to audibletrial.com/unicorns talk to get started today. Welcome to Unicorns Talk Podcast, your weekly girl talk about Black women, our healing, and manifestation. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards, your life enhancement coach, and together we're going to live, laugh, and learn to love all of life's little messes. While I am a licensed clinician, please keep in mind that this show is not a substitute for your own relationship with a mental health provider. Let's go. Hey y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 60 of Unicorns Talk Podcast. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards. I'm your life enhancement coach. And as usual, I'm super excited to be here with y'all today. It's always, it's always a blessing for me to be able to come and record for y'all and just to get an opportunity to talk to y'all. So I'm always enjoying, I always enjoy having the opportunity to be able to do that. This week has been, this week has been crazy. Y'all know I'm, like I told y'all last week, I'm back from Germany and just trying to get settled in. My job that I have currently, it requires me to do a lot of traveling, which I loved in the beginning, but I'm just kind of in a place in my life where I'm ready to settle down. And so I'm really trying to set some roots here in South Florida. This is where me and my husband live. And so I've been looking for jobs here in the area. Before I can really find a job in mental health, I have to get my license transferred over to Florida. So right now I am licensed as a professional counselor in the state of Louisiana, and every state has their own licensing requirements. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more like later in the show, because today I'm actually talking about like my whole career experience. I get a lot of questions from people about how I decided or why I decided to be a counselor and what that path was like. So I'm going to get into all of that later. But this week was really rough for me because like the state of Florida has like crazy freaking requirements. Like I've been licensed for almost 10 years now, and like they want me to go back to school. Like they want me to take 2 classes that I actually information that I already have learned. It's just that the classes that I took were not labeled the way they want the classes to be labeled. And so they're trying to make me go back to school. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy because they don't hold what's called reciprocity. The state of Florida doesn't offer reciprocity with any other state. So that was really frustrating for me. I mean, it's just an obstacle that I'm going to have to overcome. I'm going to have to, I'm already in the process of thinking about ways that I can overcome that and like how do I work around that? Like what is the resolution in order to get on the other side of that? But I'm not going to lie, like just receiving that information and processing all of that, like it's been extremely frustrating for me because I'm just ready to settle down, and so, it's definitely one of the things that really bothers me about the mental health industry is I just feel like it's all about money. And like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, but that's just kind of like what I'm dealing with this week. But all is well. And, your girl is a fighter, so I'm going to figure this shit out. You dig? So anyway, if you haven't already, please make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you're listening right now. Use hashtag Unicorns Talk Pod across all of your social media to let me know that you're listening, and make sure that you share it in your stories or whatever, and share it on your timeline. It's really helpful for me when you all share me with your people and let people know who I am and that you enjoy the show and that it might be something that they could enjoy as well. I really do appreciate it. And just keep doing that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So like I said before, Today we're talking all things counseling. And I wanted to have this talk today because I get so many questions from people. Like, aside from the personal questions that people ask me, no matter where I am in the world, people always share their personal business with me, which is, I'm okay with that. I'm a therapist. People share their personal shit with me. I'm definitely okay with that. But the second most popular question, or, like, realm of questions that I receive is, how did you get into counseling? How did you know that you wanted to be a counselor? People, and then also as a life coach, like, how did you know that you wanted to be a life coach? So I just wanted to take some time today to really, like, have a real life, like a real deal conversation about the reality of it all. So I'm going to be giving y'all some information about what my journey was like in terms of education and things like that, like what all was required in order for me to get my license as a professional counselor, as well as moving into and transitioning into being a life coach. I'll talk to you a little bit about the requirements or lack thereof there. But then I'm also going to talk a little bit about, like, some of the stuff that I think people don't always realize about the industry. So we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly today. And if you're interested in moving into the industry, I think you'll find this information extremely helpful. If you're considering, working with someone like a counselor or a life coach, I think you'll also find this information very interesting, because we always want to know what kind of credentials the people who are helping us actually have. And so, anyway, so that's what we're talking about today. I want to start off by talking about what the education requirements were like, and what my educational journey and path was like in terms of moving into the counseling field or the field of counseling. So I went for undergrad. I graduated from University of Louisiana at Lafayette. My undergrad degree was in psychology, and I had a minor in child and family studies. And then I went on to grad school, and I completed my master's of science in counseling psychology. After I completed my master's program, I went into my practicum and internship. I applied. So you have to apply whatever state that you live in. Now, this is the state of Louisiana. So I'm telling you what the requirements are for the state of Louisiana. But keep in mind that these requirements are very much similar across all of the different states. There might be a few tweaks. Like I said earlier, the state of Florida requires you to take, like, these 2 extra classes, and some might require one type of examination and others require a different type of examination. So you really need to find out what the requirements are for your particular state. But in general, they tend to follow like just the same overall guidelines. So I had to complete at least 3,000 hours total of direct and indirect counseling experience. Okay. And so thankfully, I was able to find a job, a full-time job under supervision that allowed me to get all of my hours in one place. But not everybody is that lucky. Some people have to get, like, some people only are able to find a part-time job that allows them, like, where only, like, the hours that they're working can be attributed to their internship hours. You get what I'm saying? And so it takes a little bit longer. In the state of Louisiana, you have to complete this in no less than 2 years. So 2 years from the time that you apply for your internship status to the time that you actually complete your hours. So nobody is finishing these hours earlier than 2 years. You might accumulate your hours before the end of the 2 years, which was the case for me because I was working full time. So everything that I did in my job went toward my licensing hours. Okay. So I accumulated my 3,000 hours before the end of my 2 years, but I still had to complete the 2 years before I could apply for my final full licensure. Okay. So, and I did exactly that. At the end of that 2 years, I applied for licensure. I took the National Counselor exam, which is offered by the National, what is it? The National Board of Certified Counselors. And I passed my examination the first time. And then I applied for my licensure and I got licensed. And then, everything kind of moved on from there. A few things to talk about in that internship process is that during your internship, you are under the supervision of a fully licensed clinician. Okay. So you have to be under the supervision of a fully licensed clinician. You have to meet with that person on a weekly basis, and you do pay that person for their time. Okay. So you have to have a certain amount of hours. I think it's like 100 hours of supervision time with your supervisor. So that pretty much adds up to once a week if you're looking at a 2 year time span, right? So that's pretty much once a week that you have to meet with this person. A certain amount of those hours have to be face-to-face hours. I think that recently they have made a little bit of concession in terms of being able to do your supervision in a digital space and or a group kind of setting. But the majority of those hours have to be face-to-face, one-on-one hours. And the purpose of the supervision is really to have a more seasoned clinician be the one to kind of be there to provide you with guidance and feedback as you move through. Because in the world of mental health, it's a lot of trial and error. And I know that nobody wants to hear that, but that's just the reality. We have theories, we have, we have these overarching kind of rules and things like that. But in terms of finding your place in the industry, it's a you got to kind of feel your way through, and you're going to make mistakes. There's no way around it. You're going to make mistakes. But when you're under the supervision of a licensed, more seasoned clinician, that person is there to help lessen those mistakes, but more importantly, to help you grow from those mistakes. They help you to kind of build your confidence in your own clinical judgment, which is extremely, extremely important, because a great deal of working in the mental health industry is relying on your instincts. Okay. Like you have to be able to hear what the client is not saying. You have to be able to call clients on their shit and point things out. And you have to be really in tune with your clinical intuition in order to be successful in this industry. And so working with the supervisor really helps you to be able to do that. Okay. Hopefully you get a good supervisor because not all supervisors are created equal. Some supervisors are only in it for the money. So I definitely recommend, because you do pay your supervisor, okay, because you're taking time away from them that they could be putting toward billable hours to work with clients. Okay. So you do pay your supervisor, and that can range from anywhere from $50 or $60 per session all the way up to $150 per session. It really just depends on the supervisor. Typically, most supervisors will charge however much they charge for a full session with a client. That's how much they're going to charge you to do their supervision, because the hour a week that they're taking out of their schedule to give to you, that's an hour that they're taking away from their bread and butter, basically. Okay. So do expect that this is an expense you're going to have to pay. The only way around that is if you get a job that offers supervision within, as one of the benefits or the perks of the job, which is your ideal situation, right? Because if your job is offering supervision, then 9 times out of 10, all of your hours are going to go towards your licensure. Okay. And that is the ideal situation. Okay. What else? I also want to talk about, so that's the basic educational requirements. I want to take a quick sidestep and I want to talk about the difference between counseling and social work, and then the difference between counseling and social work and like psychiatry. Okay, and so the gist of it here is that a psychiatrist is a doctor, and a psychiatrist writes prescriptions. Now, that is the significantly overly simplified version of that. Like, that is the Cliff's Notes, okay? Psychiatrists write prescriptions, social workers do case management, and counselors do counseling, okay? Now, there are a lot of social workers who, if you work your way up through the social work ranks, then you can move into counseling. But historically, social work has always been case management. All right. Now, I'm not saying that with no shade or nothing, because y'all know, well, those of you who are inside of the industry, y'all know that there's a huge beef between counseling and social work. There's this battle of, who's better and this, that, and the other. I don't give a shit about none of that. Okay. This is purely informational. I'm just trying to help people to understand what it is that you're getting yourself into. Okay. Social workers are more like boots on the ground type of people, which I love. Like, I think that there is definitely a need for that. And I respect that 100%. Some social workers choose to move up the ranks, and they choose to, take their education further, take their training further, and they move into counseling. Okay. And they can end up getting their LCSW. But you don't have to get a LCSW in order to be a social worker, or in order to do what we traditionally know and understand as social work, okay? Which is case management. And it's, when it's all broken down, it's case management. As a counselor, in my training program, I was trained to be a therapist. I was not trained as a case manager. So when I graduated from grad school, I was prepared to go straight into therapeutic practice. Okay. My licensure, my program, my graduate program, it's considered to be a terminal program, meaning that I don't need to do nothing else after that other than get my licensure. I'm prepared for licensure after that. Okay. So that's the general difference between those three. And I think it's important because, like, I have a cousin that he always say, oh yeah, Tracy a shrink, Tracy a shrink. And I'm like, I am not a shrink. I am a therapist, and I don't write prescriptions, because it's important. Like, I don't like when sometimes clients will call you Dr. Richards or Dr. Sampson or whatever like that. And I always have to correct people because I did not earn a doctorate. And so I feel like that's a designation that, I don't deserve because I did not earn that. You get what I'm saying? And I think that for people who did go the extra mile to earn their doctorate, then, it's a slap in the face for me to allow people to call me a doctor when I didn't earn that. The other thing that I want to point out is a psychologist, because we hear that a lot as well. A psychologist is a doctor. Some psychologists do write prescriptions. They can get like an additional privilege added on to their licensure that allows them to write prescriptions. But a psychologist pretty much does assessments, and not just like a psychosocial assessment, meaning, like how was your life and things like that, like collecting background information on you and stuff. Although they can do that, but a therapist can do that, or a social worker can do that as well. A psychologist is the person that we typically think of who does like more like deep assessment, personality assessments and things like that. Psychologists in general, those are your research people, your numbers people. They also do counseling, but these are your researchers for the most part. Again, this is like super, super generalized. And so, I don't want you to be like, oh, so a psychologist can't see me as a client. Yes, they can. A psychologist can see you as a client. I'm just trying to help you to understand what the major differences are. Okay. But that is a doctoral program. And if that's something that you're interested in, like the research side of things, then definitely go for it. Okay. All right. So that's the breakdown on that. What else? How did I know that I wanted to be a counselor? Okay. Well, I kind of feel like I've always been a counselor. It's just something that was in me. You know how people in the church or whatever, they say you have to be called to ministry, which, that's questionable. Well, I'm not saying it's questionable in terms of like being called and whether or not that's a real thing. I'm just talking about, I don't think everybody that's in the ministry is called to the ministry. Hello, somebody. But that's another topic for another day. Okay. But I think that being a therapist, a good therapist, I do feel like it's a calling. And I think it's the same thing like for teachers. I think good teachers, those people are called into teaching. It's something that is a part of who you are. Like I couldn't not be a therapist, because it's just a part of who I am. Even in high school, I was a junior counselor in high school, and I didn't even know, really, honestly, I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know what it meant to be a counselor, but I was drawn to that. I've always been the person that people come to when they have questions, or people come to when they need to be consoled, or when they need feedback or advice on something. Especially like in college, when I got to college, like I was just that person that everybody went to with their problems. I remember one time I was in Walmart, girl. Walmart. You hear what I'm saying to you? And I was getting some luncheon meat cut. That's when I still used to eat luncheon meat. I don't eat that processed meat no more, y'all. But I remember I'm standing in the line at Walmart, and this lady was in line behind me. And I just smiled. She pulled up behind me, and I said, "How you doing?" Because that's what I do, because I'm from Louisiana. And she said, "I'm good." And then all out of the blue, this lady just started telling me her whole life story. She told me how her and her husband was getting a divorce because he cheated on her, and they was together for over 20 years. And she was this lady started crying, like in the line at Walmart, like in the deli line at Walmart, waiting to get some meat cut. And I was just like, oh, okay. But people, of course, I let her talk, and I listened, and I genuinely listened, and I gave her feedback and gave her some tips on things that she could do to try to help, pull herself out of the depression that she was in, because that's who I am. That's what I do. So I think the first thing that really, the first way for me to really answer that question, how did I know I wanted to be a counselor? I think I didn't know that I wanted to be a counselor. I don't think I really had a choice. I don't. I don't think I really had a choice. I think it's just something that has always been a part of who I am. But in terms of how I moved into the field of counseling, I didn't know what I wanted to do. My mother wanted me to be a teacher when I graduated from high school. And I knew I didn't want to necessarily be a teacher in the classroom because, to be honest, I don't want to deal with them kids like that. I'll be done slap the shit out of somebody's child. And I just didn't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't want to do that. And so I majored in English when I applied for college. I was an English major because I read and write very well. And so, but I don't enjoy reading or writing for that matter. And so I majored in English because I didn't know what else to do. I went to freshman orientation, and at freshman orientation, I was flipping through the course book, the course catalog, which at that time was like an actual newspaper. It was something tangible that we could touch. This was in August of 2000. Okay. That was before everything went into the digital space. And so I was flipping through the course catalog, and I came across psychology, and I read up on it because I had never even heard the word psychology before that. And it said the study of human behavior. And I was immediately intrigued because I love human behavior. Like, I am so interested in why people do things the way that they do them, like why people do the things that they do, how people make the decisions that they make. I am definitely a people watcher. I could sit in a park for hours and just watch people walk by, and just in my head, I'm constantly like, just trying to understand those behaviors and trying to understand, what makes people tick. I am fascinated by human behavior, like for real, for real. And so I was like, okay, so psychology. So I went to the psychology section. I read up on a few of the classes and I was very much interested. And I changed my major to psychology at freshman orientation. When I got into the one of my first or second classes, they taught us about the different jobs that are available to us, like the different career paths that would be available to you in the field of psychology, like things you can do with your psychology degree. And so I don't ever remember there being a moment where I was like, I'm going to be a counselor. I just kind of feel like that was, I don't know, it was just the path that I took. It was a natural kind of thing that happened, I think. I chose classes that I was interested in learning more about. And those classes were the classes that really built the foundation for a career in counseling. And because those were just the things that I was interested in learning. Okay. So that's pretty much how that happened. I mean, to be honest, like I didn't choose to be a counselor. That's just kind of the direction that the universe took me in. All right. How I made the transition into being a life coach is because one of the issues that I have with this industry, the mental health industry, is that it's very limiting in terms of like being in this industry for a career. I feel very limited in this career. And one of the main reason, like I said earlier, is like every state has their own requirements for licensure, which is not necessarily a problem. Only those requirements don't always play well together. And so it boxes you in. So if you move from one state to another, then you have to apply for licensure in the state that you're now in. So I'm licensed in the state of Louisiana. And in the state of Louisiana, I have been licensed for the last 8 years, and I have literally traveled the world doing counseling services and working with people. And I do counseling online right now and working with people all over the world for the last 8 years. But now that I live in the state of Florida, I'm not a therapist, not recognized by the state of Florida. So I cannot work as a therapist in the state of Florida. I can't see clients here in the state of Florida. And when I applied, they telling me that I'm missing 2 classes and that I have to go back to school to get these 2 classes to do something that I've been doing for the last 8 years. That is bullshit. And I have to take another test. So it's almost like the state of Florida is telling me that, yeah, we know you've been doing this for 8 years, making diagnosis and working with people and being a counselor for 8 years. But fuck all that. You're going to pay us $300, what basically amounts to $300. They break it down into $100 here, $80 here, $100 here, but it's $300. Plus however much you're going to pay to go take these classes. Plus however much you're going to pay to go and take this test again. Right? You're going to pay us if you want your livelihood back. And that is, I don't know, I feel some kind of way about that. And it's something that has been brewing in me for a little while, just like the frustration that I have with the industry as a whole, because I feel like, everybody is out for money, but who is actually standing up for these clients? It's the people, it's us, like the people who are on the ground working with clients in their lives, trying to help people actually make change in their lives. Like we're the ones that's actually investing in people and doing this because we are called to do it. And the people who pulling the strings just really trying to get the money. And that I don't know, I find that difficult. That's difficult for me. So the fact that there's no real flexibility, the fact that I feel like the industry as a whole is not respected, in America in particular. We don't respect mental health in America, as a profession. We say we do, but we don't really, because we're not trying to pay, just like teachers. We don't respect teachers and educators in America. We say we do. Everybody always talking about, how good, how we need to praise the teachers and thank God for good teachers and all of that, but y'all ain't trying to pay them. When they ask for an increase in taxes so these teachers could get a raise, y'all like, oh no, I don't raise my taxes 50 cents. I don't want to pay an extra quarter for my gas or whatever it is. But you love teachers though. But you understand the value of teachers, but you ain't trying to pay them people. And I feel like that's the same thing with the mental health industry. So it's very limiting as a career choice. And it's extremely high on burnout. I think because it is so limiting and because the industry is not respected in America, burnout is extremely high, meaning that people get tired. Like you give and you give and you give and you give and you get shitted on. That's just the reality. There are some really good, great, awesome, amazing moments that I've had as a therapist. When I see a client making progress as a result of a skill that I taught them, man, like there are not even words to describe what that feels like. There are some very high highs. But overall, it is a difficult job. And burnout is extremely high. Okay, across the entire industry. So the reason why I even, allowed myself to be open to moving into coaching is because of flexibility. There's a flexibility available in the coaching industry that is just not there in the counseling industry. And I think it's because of the structure of the coaching industry. But I think more importantly, it's because of the youth of the coaching industry. Coaching industry is extremely young. It's still developing. It's still growing. It really is in a period right now where you can make it whatever you want to make it. I originally had an aversion to coaching because it's not well regulated, to be 100% honest. The counseling industry is extremely regulated, okay, which I think is a good thing and a bad thing, but the counseling industry is extremely regulated. The coaching industry is virtually unregulated, which is why everybody and their goddamn grandmama is a coach these days, because you don't need a certification or any type of education or anything to call yourself a coach. Anybody can call themselves a coach and sell themselves as a coach and make money as a coach as of, today. All right. You don't need any type of education or training or certification, licensure, anything to be a life coach. However, the industry is moving towards standardization. So if you are interested in being a life coach or interested in moving into the field of coaching, I highly recommend that you put forth the effort on the front end to get the certification that you need, because that is where the industry is going. And I would hate for you to find yourself in a position where now all of a sudden you can't make money doing what you do because you don't have the licensure or you don't have the certification. Okay? It is definitely worth it to get the certification. I have a whole master's and a licensure, and I still took a certification class. Now, for me, it was a little bit redundant because of the similarities between coaching and counseling. And so a lot of the techniques and the information that they taught, I pretty much already knew those things, but I did learn from the program. I attended a program called the Life Purpose Institute, and they're based out of, I think, San Diego, California. And so if you decide to go with Life Purpose Institute, make sure you let them know that I sent you. But it was a really, really great program. And the person who founded the program, it was a licensed therapist before she moved into coaching. And so I felt like the foundation of the program was solid. She knew what she was talking about. She knew what she was building. And I think if you were somebody who, coming from like not knowing or having any of those skill sets or technical understanding, I think the program, it could be extremely beneficial for you. Okay. And it's cost effective. Okay. It's extremely cost effective because some of these places charging 10, 15, $20,000 to get your life coaching certification. That's insane. I want to say I paid like 3,500 or something like that. It was less than 4,000. I know I want to say maybe it was like $3,700 or something like that. To do the long distance course. And I definitely think it was worth it. They let me do a payment plan. So I paid it off a little bit at a time. I did the telephonic based course. So it was 17 weeks, once a week for 17 weeks. We took a test at the end. They also gave us assistance in terms of creating a marketing plan and things like that. Like, it's a good program. It's a really good program. Okay. So I definitely recommend Life Purpose Institute. But I recommend that if you are interested in moving into coaching, that you go ahead and get the certification, because that's the shift that's taking place in the industry. And you need to make sure that the people you work with, it's a good thing to be able to tell them, I'm certified, because people look for that, and rightfully so. People want to know that the person that they're working with actually knows what the fuck they're talking about. All right. So, like I said, I moved into coaching because of the flexibility. It offers me flexibility in terms of creativity, and really being able to be more creative in my approach. I feel like sometimes the mental health industry kind of locks you in. You have to adhere to your theories, or like the theories that have already been established. It's not, in my opinion, there's not a lot of room for free thinking in the counseling industry, in the therapeutic counseling industry. But in coaching, because of its youth, it's still forming, and you really can make it whatever you want to make it, and I love being able to be flexible in my creativity, especially now, like that we're moving into this digital space on a more full-time basis. It really allows for creativity to flourish. And I love being able to, incorporate my passion for mental and emotional wellness and just for helping people with my need for creativity. And I can really be like, I can produce things like this podcast and do it the way that I want to do it. Like, how many times I say shit, fuck, motherfucker, goddamn, and all of that other shit on this show. I say some ignorant shit on this show. In the counseling world, that is highly unacceptable. But in the coaching world, it's okay, because it's more about authenticity and genuinity, and you can put more of yourself into it. And I really appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. But I also love coaching and am gravitated toward coaching because of the flexibility in terms of movement. And like I said, the licensure, my professional licensure, locks me into the state of Louisiana, whereas my coaching certification is nationwide. I am a nationally certified coach. So I can go anywhere in this country and I can work with anybody in this country. There is no limitation on who I can work with. Just because you don't live in the same state as me doesn't mean that I can't work with you as a life coach. Okay? And I love that freedom. I like to be able to move around, I don't like to feel boxed into anything. And so I love the fact that the coaching gives me that freedom and that flexibility. All right. So that's how I knew that I wanted to be a counselor, and what really motivated me to move into coaching. And then the last question that I want to answer for today, because there's so many, but I don't have so much time. But the last question I want to answer for today is, how do you make money? Because people always want to know, how do you make money? And I get that. We gotta know how we make money. You know what I'm saying? You gotta put food on the table. At the end of the day, you gotta put food on the table. What I will say is that um, it's easy to make money. It can be easy to make money in the coaching and counseling field. But you are going to have to make some concessions. And that's just the reality. I think the people who we see on Instagram and Facebook and social media who like make the most money, they're selling a lifestyle. They call themselves a coach, but they really selling a lifestyle. And the lifestyle is easy living, easy money, you know? And I strongly urge you to be cautious of those people because they basically, they're taking your money and they're not helping you. I was trying to think of the politically correct way to say that, but y'all know I don't really do politically correct anyway. They're taking your money and they're not helping you. They know how to tell you what you need to hear in order to part with your dollars. But if you look at what you're really benefiting from them, you're not. You get a pep talk, you get a pat on the back, you get a moment of feel good, which is all great. Like we need a pep talk sometimes. We need somebody to pat us on the back and make us feel good about ourselves. But at the end of that, how are they helping us move our lives forward? They're not. They're saying, look at me. I make all this money. I'm gonna put together this program and I'm gonna teach you how I make all this money. And all you gotta do is give me $1,500 and I'm gonna tell you how I made all this money. So you give them $1,500 of your money, and then you get in the course and they say, I built a course telling people how I made all this money, and they gave me money to tell them how I made all this money. You see what I'm saying? They selling you a lifestyle. They're preying on your need for more, for something different, your desire for a different life. But what are they actually teaching you? How are they actually helping you to move your life forward? They're not. They're not. You know, if you are really in this to try to help people, the money is not going to come as quickly. And that's just the reality. It's not a fast money kind of game over here. The helping profession, there is money to be made. But it's not a fast money kind of game. Okay? And so I'm learning how to build my audience. I'm learning how to build trust. I try to be as transparent as I can be with y'all and let y'all know who I am and where I am and what it is that I'm dealing with in my life, so that, you know, y'all can kind of take this journey with me and understand the reality of it. There is money to be made, but you got to be willing to play the long game, because what I've learned is that people love the idea of healing, but they are afraid of the reality of healing. Right? People love the idea of moving through their traumas and their past hurts, but the reality of it is scary for them. So I'm more willing to give my money to the person that's selling me the quick fix, that's telling me that everything gonna be good. If you just come to my program, if you just give me your whole life savings, I'm more willing to invest in the quick fix than I am in the long-term work, because I don't want to do the long-term work. Okay? So there's not as many people who are willing to invest in the long-term work. So I'm learning how to provide alternative options for those people that actually still benefit their lives, right? So things like, courses and workshops and programs, obviously, but books and things like that, experiences. I want to create face-to-face experiences that are life-changing experiences, and not just life-changing like on a superficial level. I want, when you come to my event, when you come to a Latrice Sampson Richards event, I want you to walk away from that knowing and feeling that your life has changed. Not just that you got a good pep talk, but you actually learn skills that are going to change the trajectory of your life. And you had a life affirming moment, like you had a real experience in your life. That's my goal. So the money can be made, but you have to be creative about how to make it, and you have to be realistic about how long it's going to take for it to get there. It's not an overnight thing. And anybody that's trying to sell you a overnight quick fix, girl, you need to turn and run in the opposite direction, because that shit is not real. It's fleeting. I feel like nowadays, a lot of these life coaches and these programs and things that they're putting together, it's like modern day multi-level marketing. You remember how it used to be everybody was in multi-level marketing? And I mean, they still do multi-level marketing. But, everybody was doing this, and you got to get in early on a pyramid so you could flip it and get all these people up under you. Like, I feel like that's kind of what it is. You have to sell what's hot right now and be one of the first to do it and capitalize on it in order to make money. But all the people that come after you, the more people that come behind you, the less money those people are making. And that's really what it is. They selling you a dream, and you fulfilling their dream, but they ain't fulfilling yours. I'm trying to teach you real life shit. I'm trying to teach you how to turn your whole trajectory of your life around. I'm talking about real deal, actual healing. People not always ready to hear that. But I do it even though I'm not making money right now. Not enough money to take care of my household, you know what I'm saying? But even though I'm not making that kind of money, I do it anyway, because I believe in the work, because I don't have a choice. I couldn't not do this work if I wanted to, if I tried, because I really believe that this is my purpose in life. It's not just, what I chose to do. Like, this is what I was put on this earth to do. I believe that with everything in me. And even though it's not carrying me financially the way that I would like for it to carry me, or the way I need for it to carry me, I still do it. I still create. I still generate. I'm still invested in people's lives, because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's who I am. All right. So I hope that you found this information helpful today. Let me know, are you interested in going into the mental health field or the helping professions or anything like that? Where are you in your journey? Did you find this information helpful? What questions? Like, I can definitely do a part 2 or like a follow-up to this. Let me know if you have any more questions that you would like for me to answer around what it's like to be in the helping professions, or what it takes to get into it, or anything like that. Let me know. And that's it. I think that's it. Coming up next is High Five. This episode is also brought to you by the Black Unicorn Project. The BlackUnicornProject.com is an online community center dedicated to the healing and advancement of Black culture and well-being. Go to theblackunicornproject.com to check out our take on Black music, finance, current events, and wellness around the world. That's theblackunicornproject.com for a new take on a familiar atmosphere. All right, so today's high five goes to Cardi B. Y'all know how I feel about Cardi B. I love me some Cardi B. Hey, Cardi, or whatever. But anyway, high five today goes to Cardi B. It was announced recently that Cardi B is actually going to be the next celebrity to take up a Vegas residency. I am super excited about this, and I've always wanted to go to Vegas. I haven't been to Vegas yet, but I feel like I would go to Vegas to see Cardi. I'm not gonna lie, because y'all know Cardi speaks to my inner hood rat, and I love it. And so the Palms Casino Resort in Vegas announced that they have a new club that's going to be opening up in April called Club Chaos, and Cardi has agreed to do 5 or 6 shows over the next year at Club Chaos. I think this is a really good move for Cardi. One, because it's Vegas, and I think most artists getting a residency in Vegas is definitely a marker of success in your career. You know what I'm saying? I love that Vegas is kind of making this shift to bring more mainstream artists and giving them a residency. Like, I like the idea of that. Whoever came up with that is doing a really good job of making that happen. But I'm really happy about this for Cardi because it stabilizes her a little bit. You know what I'm saying? With the baby and everything like that, it gives her a chance to be in one place for an extended period of time. And I could only imagine that as a new mother, that's something that she craves and something that's really important to her. And so even though the dates are not available yet, I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for those. I don't know, I might try to go see Cardi or whatever. Y'all gonna come with me? Y'all gonna go see Cardi in Vegas? Let me know. I think that show gonna be hot. If it ain't nothing else, it's gonna be hot. For real, for real. So high five to Cardi B on her Vegas residency. Good job, mama. I'm so proud of her. Even like as of lately, she's been really speaking out politically, not just politically, but she's showing people like she's not stupid. You know what I'm saying? She's not stupid. Like she's an intelligent woman. She's definitely a businesswoman. She knows what she's doing. And I love seeing that side of her start to come out more, where it's like, look, I'm not just like up here doing whatever, saying whatever. Like I have a brain. I'm intelligent, and fuck all y'all who don't think that I could do this shit. You know what I'm saying? So high five to Cardi B. I love you, mama. That's it for high five. Today's reality check goes to Fix My Life, Iyanla Fix My Life. I was watching, because y'all know I ain't working right now. So I was watching some of those episodes. And one of the episodes, episode 6 from season 6, I think the episode is titled Reality Rehab. And she had 3 reality stars who felt like their on-screen persona didn't fit or match the person that they are in real life. They were not pleased with how they were portrayed, and they really kind of felt like they had lost touch with themselves for the sake of good television. And so she had Althea, which I don't know because I don't watch Love and Hip Hop, but she from Love and Hip Hop, and Minyan. I don't know how to say her name either. That's slightly ridiculous. But she was from Bridezilla. Even though I didn't know her name, I remembered her story because I remember people talking about the girl who fought her sister on Bridezilla, and that was her. But then she had Duchess, who I definitely am familiar with because y'all know I love me some Black Ink Crew, okay? Which they've been getting a little out of hand lately, but I still watch as of lately, okay? As of now, rather. So Duchess, if you remember, used to be in a relationship with Caesar from the original Black Ink. She was on there for like 5 years. Her real name is Christiana, and so I like that on Fix My Life, they really made an effort to call her Christiana and not call her Duchess, because Duchess is like her on-screen persona, and the whole idea was trying to get away from that on-screen persona. So they called her by her natural name, which is Christiana. And so she was talking about how she ended up on Black Ink, and she was saying that like she grew up in a very stable household, but she was really looking for something different. She was rebelling rebelling against the normalcy and the stability that she had. And so she moved to New York to try to do something different or get something different. And that's how she ended up meeting the people that she met and everything like that. And she was saying at one point, she was saying how she was looking for the love that she had left behind in her family, like all of the love and support that she had been receiving from her family in her rebellious nature or whatever. She left that behind, but it left a void, and she was looking to kind of replace that with the people that she met on the Black Ink Crew, and she said something that really, really hit me. I mean, I had to rewind it. Like, it really hit me. She said they didn't even know how to love themselves, and they didn't even know how to love themselves. And that really stuck with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it did. I wrote it down. I went back and watched it a few times, and I wrote that down, and I just couldn't let it go, because I think we don't understand a lot of times why we keep getting hurt in our friend circles or in the relationships that we exist in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have so many people that talk about the relationships and the connections that they have, and why this person got to do me like this, and they constantly getting hurt and constantly not getting their needs met, and they don't understand why that is. But it's because we're looking for things out of people who are not equipped to give them to us, right? And I think that's the perfect example of that. They definitely had love for each other. Like, there's no question about that. They had love for each other within that circle. And it was, but the reality is that it was a very toxic kind of love, and still is. Right? You're talking about a group of people who, never really had those kind of connections in people. They're looking for loyalty, but their idea of what love and loyalty is skewed, right? And so it's that kind of love that brings out the worst in people 80% of the time. Y'all know what that is. And it doesn't mean that there's no good there. There is good there. They are, I think, at their core, all of them are good people. They really are. But it only comes after they done acted the damn fool. They're toxic 80% of the time. But that 20% of their best, that's what keeps you locked into the cycle. Because you know that 20% is in there. You know that piece of them, that part of them is in there. And that's the part that you're really after. So you endure the 80% bullshit for that 20% of goodness. That ratio is that's not a balanced ratio. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. The reality check for today is allow yourself to be surrounded by people who can bring out the best in you, not the worst. Allow yourself to be surrounded by people who know how to love themselves, so that they can then impart love upon you. People cannot give you what they don't have. Okay? No more than you can give them what you don't have. And so in your quest for love and connection and relationships with people, make sure that you're seeking out people who have love to give. All right? Because otherwise you're going to continue to find yourself on this negative loop cycle, wondering why you just can't catch a damn break. Okay? So that's your reality check for today. I definitely want to give a shout out to Black Married Fly podcast. Of course, make sure y'all time is running out. Make sure that you sign up to receive my newsletter and to receive the blackmarriedfly.com newsletter in order to win an opportunity for a one-on-one session. Well, not necessarily one-on-one, but a heart-to-heart session with yours truly. Just head on over to latricesampsonrichards.com/heart-to-heart, that's the number 2, and sign up for my newsletter, and then head over to blackmarriedfly.com/heart to heart to sign up for their newsletter, and you'll be entered to win. The results are going to be announced on Valentine's Day. Candace and I are going to do a joint live stream on Instagram, so make sure you follow us both on there as well. I also want to give a shout out to all my friends and family, those that I got to see this week, those that I have not gotten to see. I love y'all, and come on to South Florida sometime. I got a air mattress with your name on it, boo. All right. Make sure you join my Facebook group, Trust Village, a safe space for healing and manifestation. Follow me on all of the social medias at Latrice Sampson Richards on Facebook and Instagram, on Twitter at LSamRichards. And make sure you get your Unicorns Talk podcast swag or whatever. Head on over to the website, latricesampsonrichards.com/Unicorns Talk Pod for your UTP swag. That's all I got for y'all today. I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. And until next time, be well. Bye, y'all.